welcome to the Can I Borrow Your Car podcast. So, recording this on Monday morning, and it was a pretty awesome week actually. My wife and I got to go out and have a date. Um, I don't eat dinner because I sleep better if I don't. So we went out for a really nice lunch together, which is great. And I read a couple of good books. The Goal being one of them, recommended by my friend Tony D. And then I finished writing the first draft of my next book. And I wanted to talk a little bit about it. It's going to be a parable because I am writing a book about what I see coming down the road. And when you're looking in the future, the temptation is always to say, I've got this nailed and this is exactly what's going to happen. And I decided that I wasn't going to do that, which I'm not proud of myself for not being an arrogant butthead, but I'm glad I'm not in that regard. Family and friends, feel free not to comment. Instead, I'm doing a parable because I think that professional services is at a point. I don't know if it's the sharp edge of the spear. I don't know if it's the edge of a cliff. I don't know if it's the start of a climb or the start of descent, but I do know that we are at a point of decisions, right? And so, and this AI influences what I'm about to say with you, but it's not the problem or the solution or the fix. AI is just a symptom. And the symptom is that I believe we are transitioning out of an information age and into what I would call an execution age. The information age, which professional services, man, we had a good run, didn't we? Like, information is very important. And we loved, I mean, I still love, the ego never dies. I still love feeling like I possess unique information. We really don't. Right. And it's much more effective. So this is the start of my point. It's much more effective for us to realize as the not possessors of unique information anymore. It's really important for us to realize before prospects and clients do. I hope you hear what I'm saying. Once you figure that out and you kind of go through the stages of grief, right? Once you figure that out, now you have decisions to make about what you're going to do. So I'm going to lay out a couple of decisions. If you have the ability to sell, or as we say at Exit Planning Institute, take chips off the table. If you have the ability to sell your business right now and be financially independent, meaning you don't have to work for the rest of your life, I think you should strongly consider that regardless of what profession you're in. And I say that not because I know it's going to happen, but because I do know that this transition from information to execution is going to be challenging. And I think a lot of people that have been incredibly successful and have optimized their value propositions and their client acquisition strategies in the information age are going to be the last frogs in the pot. Right when it starts boiling and you're cooked. And ironically, I think your excellence, what you are so good at, I think it actually is what's going to potentially doom you. So if you're in a position where you can take chips off the table and sell at a multiple, which might possibly, depending upon your professions, and I'm talking accounting, legal, financial services, I think consulting multiples are going to go up, but the rest of them I think are potentially at a high point. If you can consolidate your gains and take chips off the table, and then basically either retire and watch the chaos, or if you don't want to stop working in the next 3 to 5 years, but you're interested in making good business decisions, because this is what real businesses do. Like real businesses that are great realize market conditions and make hopefully decisions beforehand. And so if you believe that you're trading at a high point, sell. Isn't this what we do as financial advisors, my friends? Sell high, buy low, sell high, consolidate your gains, sell, chips off the table. Now you can grow again and you can explore an emerging model from a heavily capitalized and financially secure point. That's what I'm saying. It's like if you can take chips off the table, even if you're in your 40s, take those chips off the table, realize your gains, right? Pay your taxes and then build again, right? You did it once, you can do it again. Now, little reality point. If most of your success and the value in your company has been built by market growth, and I'm looking right at financial advisors, like how much real growth have you provided year after year after year versus market growth? I find it fascinating when you strip out market growth from the value of, the revenue and the ongoing stuff with services firms. Sometimes it is a really scary story. You find you're kind of like the United States birth rate. You're actually in decline, but the momentum of your business is so big that you don't realize it. So if you're in one of those positions, you might want to really get those chips off the table. But here's the other thing. I think the emerging business paradigm is going to so massively reward people in professional services that can demonstrably tie what they're paid transparently with no opacity directly to ROI. And I will tell you that I find that the vast majority of firms right now in that space are not capable of doing that right now. And your business may not go out, your model may not stop, but the way its price changes and fundamentally repricing is a sales question. And if you're not a sales organization, if you don't have a real sales process and you don't have articulated sales acumen, you're going to struggle, right? Or you're going to have to pay other people way too much money to try and fix that for you. And you're just going to be even farther away from the problem. When other people own your marketing, you are not the master and commander of your own ship, right? Algorithms own your ship. Agencies own your ship. Governments, technology platforms, they own your ship. Doesn't have to be that way. Referrals done actively with a sales focus can be not only incredibly developmental for you because you're giving, but they are also one of the most powerful and scalable ways to grow a professional services company ever invented. They have for thousands and thousands of years, and they'll continue to be. What if you discovered that you had to take a significant amount of your annual revenue and find it from someplace else? What if you discovered over time that you made 25% off of 80% of your revenue as opposed to 80%? What would you do? What am I talking about? I'm talking about opacity. So the big issue with professional services, and these are the people I generally talk to, the big issue with professional services is that information is a commodity. I know you don't want to hear it. I didn't want to hear it either. Like I'm I'm a published author. I've done all this stuff. Man, I'm really smart. I know things and I want people to buy from me because of that. No longer, no longer. So I want you to take a long, hard look at your business model. And number one, ask yourself how AI through information opacity, meaning the ability of a client, current client or prospective client to understand not only what you're actually charging them now and in the future, especially if what you charge them increases through market forces such that you potentially are creating an ever increasing hourly rate without an increase or service or quality of information. I want you to look at that and understand that not only is the problem that you no longer possess unique information, the problem is that in short order, maybe 3 years, maybe 5 years, in short order, clients will not only be able to figure out exactly what you're charging them, but they're going to come to a close to 90% accurate answer on what you actually did to earn that money. Right? And I'm telling you right now, this is a repricing challenge. And I'm specifically talking to those of you that are bringing better than average value. Don't be the last frog in the pot. The people I'm most worried about 5 years from now are those of you that have optimized the old business models in accounting, legal, consulting, coaching, financial services, you name it, where you're charging for advice. You're the people that are going to have the longest run on the old model and potentially the most risk. And I'm going to kind of leave it there. Like, you don't want to be the person that discovers last, that you've been charging for something that really isn't as valuable as you thought it was, and you're the last person the client decides to let know, because at that point, it's almost impossible for you to save your business. Let's not talk about going out of business. Let's talk about the unbelievable opportunity this provides you. If you're delivering above average value in ROI for your clients, not information, but ROI, this is an incredible opportunity. It's nuanced because it's not an emergency. Like I said, you don't have to blow up your car, but man, what a tremendous opportunity. We lost power in the middle of the night for a couple hours, right in the middle of the night. And it was out for about 2 hours, and the temperatures are down in the 20s. So it was there was some stress involved. So good news, we keep our fireplaces cleaned on an annual basis, and I was able to start a fire just in case the power didn't come on. And so we started the fire, got that going. That involved a whole bunch of logistics and whatnot. And then we sort of tried to nap, but we're not used to going to sleep with a fire going, even with fireplace stuff. Long story short, not a great night's sleep. But how does that all relate to can I borrow your car? And I think all I got for you today is this, is that I'm going to be a little bit under the weather today, not sick or anything like that, but I'm going to be fatigued and tired. And the good news is just like any real form of marketing, referrals don't have to have you be perfect all the time, don't have to have you even necessarily be present for it to be a predictable, systematic way. Some people have said that referrals don't really work for top advisors. And anecdotally, I'm sure that's true for some, but I would just say that most marketing doesn't work for top advisors and top advisory firms because they, number one, don't have real strategy, meaning that they are not a strategic sales organization. If you're not a sales organization, internally or externally, your marketing is going to struggle. The other reason is because a lot of advisors have baked in profit, right? And so they don't have a lot of fluctuations. And so they mistake steady growth as evidence of, good work. And it's not, right? You need to be measuring a couple of things. Number one, whatever marketing system you're using, it has to be a system, which means that you have to be able to say, we do X amount of things and we get X amount of sales. One of the greatest mistakes you can possibly make is assume that all you have to do is get attention, likes, and things like that, right? Meetings are good, but at the end of the day, sales organizations measure everything and they determine success based upon results. So back to this. If you're a sales organization, you're going to hold whatever form of marketing you do, i.e., client acquisition process, you're going to hold that to the test. You are going to make sure that you're not getting branding type results, and being told that, hey, this is great, lots of impressions, lots of stuff like that. You're going to be measuring what really counts, which is how many meetings have we scheduled with ideal clients. This is where I believe referrals wins for advisory, because maybe it doesn't have the same amount of volume because it's not cold calling and spamming everyone. Please stop. But it does have a higher percentage of hit because you have to do it. So today's a mixed bag, and just being real, today's a mixed bag. So I was planning and I had reserved on my calendar, and I had, with a great degree of effort, the entire day to go fly fishing, and I can't. I've got this tennis elbow that popped up ever since we had the snow and ice storm, and I'm trying to chip out all that stuff. And I could go fishing and I could fish today, but I think it would then flare up and I would not be able to fish for a couple of weeks. 57, I'm trying not to be a stupid idiot. So I am not fishing today. And I mean, no kidding. I am a little down about that for sure. I'm trying to do all the tricks. I'm pivoting, but that gives me an opportunity because yesterday I finished the second draft of my next book. And that means today I can go through and do a third edit. And then I'm going to be sending it off to an editor. Goal is, like, the wild ass crazy goal is to have it published, at least in Kindle format, by late April, because it would be just so cool to have some when I'm signing Can I Borrow Your Car books at the Exit Planning Institute Summit. That one's kind of crazy. I don't know. We'll see. But it probably more realistic June. And what's interesting about this book for me is it doesn't offer a prescription, a formula, or this is what you need to do, but it's basically a culmination of 30 years of work with professional services companies. And yes, it does apply to any business. Like any good book about business should have universal appeal. Can I Borrow Your Car? That was written primarily thinking about financial advisors because of how absolutely critical, like from a monetary standpoint, managing risk and relationships is. And so that's why it was Can I Borrow Your Car, subtitle, How Financial Advisors Can Grow Their Business and Love Their Life, which is what makes referrals different. Like when you do business by referral, don't listen to the jackasses that shit on other forms of marketing, including referrals, including me sometimes, right? Because like ego is alive and it's not good. The reality is any marketing, any form of client acquisition process, which is really a better term than marketing, because marketing is a nice way to kind of back off the fact that you either acquire clients or you don't. But any client acquisition process can be done really well. Usually you need to invest in it. You need to invest time, money, and talent. And those three different resources are applied in different ways, right? So back to the book. The real thing we have, what's going on with AI, and fundamentally what I see is the real challenge, at least in the short term. Like we can all yell about this is going out of business and this is being destroyed and everybody's going to take on it. And man, I just don't know. And I bet you don't either, right? So instead, I wrote a parable about someone that's very successful who is starting to realize that their alignment with how they get paid, not what they do, but how they get paid, is starting to become incongruent. And they are noticing that misalignment. And it's really a story about how can you start thinking about your next evolution of how you do business, even if you're absolutely killing it financially. Now, doom and gloom and all that stuff, we just don't know. But I will tell you this, there are some of you out there, hopefully, that will see this. Maybe you've read Can I Borrow Your Car and you kind of got the deeper meanings, you understood the faith journey and things like that. There's some of you out there in professional services and especially financial services where you know something's changing. And it's not changing like you're in a building that's on fire, but it's just like the office doesn't fit the same. You're not as peaceful. And that's really what this book's about. What am I selling with this book? I'm selling the idea of having a conversation with yourself about being at peace in business. That's it. So anyways, what are your thoughts? I've got a couple of cool people that are going to be doing advanced readings for me. I sent it to my mom because she's cool and she's actually a brilliant writer. And so good stuff coming. Stay tuned. And if you're of the praying sort, I would absolutely love it if you prayed some for me when you get this message that I deal better than in the past with being unable to do something I love. Today, I want to talk about the past to inform the future. There is no perfect science to being able to understand what's happened to 100% accurately predict what will happen in the future. But it helps. It really does. Because we are inherently humans are pattern recognition animals, right? This is how we survived and evolved. And it's also real in business. So here's the deal. Do you understand the history of your industry and particularly your position in the industry? This could be a very valuable thought line for owners of professional services firms. And my hint for you, and then specific advice, my hint for you is to look at how technology, the evolution of technology, has impacted your business and caused change. Inherent within that is not ended your industry. Okay. But how technology, like for example, if you're attorney, the creation of paper was a huge moment, right? Then the typewriter, then the computer. Like, look at accounting. Look at how technology, for a lot of these professions, how technology that we take for granted right now is kind of being settled. Like, this is how we always do things. Actually, was achieved through tech. How your industry success and operations was driven by technology. And something that's even more specific that I want you to start thinking about is what impact on pricing or repricing has technology had historically in your industry, and what insights potentially can you glean going forward? Because right now, if you're in professional services, heck, if you're in business at all, we're in a serious time of disruption. I was just reading in the Wall Street Journal this morning about how software companies are just getting the baseball bat, right? Into it. The worst performing stock is into it. Can you believe it? Like the all this stuff, right? All of this, what we used to think was the dominant force, right, is now being horribly savaged by fear around AI eliminating software. Fear of AI eliminating software. Take a look at it and ask yourself, because it's a lot more productive, I think, as someone who coaches and consults with owners of professional service companies day after day after day, and I freaking love it. I love you guys. I love you gals. You're the best, period. As someone who does that, what I find to be a lot more productive strategy with less emotional trauma is look at current pricing, look at how that pricing evolved historically, and then ask yourself what insight you can glean going forward that you may need to think about now. Because the good news about being early to the game of realizing the disruption and thinking about it is there's a lot of acreage to claim. There's a lot of opportunity. I am not coming to you with a be scared moment. I'm coming to you with if you get at all what I'm saying, let's transition that fear to excitement. Let's be realistic. Like, there are concerns, but let's be realistic and let's be opportunistic. Because if you can, while maintaining optimal profitability within the current pricing structure, the current business model, while growing and testing a newer, more future-oriented pricing model, think about it. You got this. Be real, be human, be authentic.